An Empress's Justice. The Emperor was announced at Lady Aenor's palace, and the ladies tried to quickly hide the remnants of their card game. The attempt was unsuccessful. When Giroux entered, his eyes drifted to the coins and cards on the table. The fact that his concubines gambled was not unknown to him. All the women bowed to him, hoping to not be reproved. He turned to Thancred to read his decree. On this day forward, Lady Lila is declared the grand concubine of the imperial harem. The announcement was made. Jaws dropped, including Lila's, who had never expected the promotion. Giroux placed a small golden crown on her head, similar to Aenor's. All the ladies save for Aenor bowed and congratulated her. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I didn't expect this," she said, still reeling. "It was long overdue, and I wanted to place the crown on your head myself, even though I had to scout the entire harem for you," he said, raising his eyebrows, a slight reference to the card game. "My apologies, sire," she said, blushing. "I will leave you ladies to your entertainment," Giroux said, looking directly at Aenor, as she was the one who hosted the games. The woman blanched and bowed together with all the concubines, cursing her servants for not reporting His Majesty's arrival as soon as they saw him. Anya bowed in front of the Dowager Empress. "Thank you for having me, Your Majesty," she said. "Rise," Elena beckoned. She was in her small private gardens and indicated for Anya to sit. The palace, though being locked up for over 20 years, was kept in immaculate condition. The two women sat in silence. Anya did not attempt to breach the silence. The woman requested her, and when she was ready to speak, she would. "How did you end up being raised by the Webbs?" she finally asked. "My aunt's lover abandoned me in the market streets of Dunbria with her encouragement. I do not recall how I ended up with them. Do you despise Madame Laura for abandoning you?" The question made Anya think. She had never been asked the question before, nor had she considered it recently. "No," she said with a small smile. She had her reasons. She was young, and she did come back for me but saw it was better if I remained with my new family. I couldn't have it any other way. "Do you love Giroux?" "No, I do not," she answered honestly again. The answer surprised Elena. She expected the girl to sing praises and admiration. "That is not something I expected." "I'm sorry, Your Majesty. However, I do have great affection for him. He is an amazing man, but he also belongs to many women in the harem. To be in love with him would be foolish of me," Anya confessed. Elena did not respond to her answer. She couldn't fault the girl for partially withholding her affection from Giroux. He had a harem full of women who loved him, and he was supposed to have affection for them too. It would be unfair to ask Anya to love her son unconditionally. "You seem to be a wise girl. I do not believe that you came to the Marble Palace to be a servant only, nor are your goals to be the Emperor's lover." Anya smiled at the statement. "What does Her Majesty think I came here to do? To be Empress? Why would an Irani bastard, adopted and raised by merchants, have aspirations to be Empress? You seem to wear your heritage and humble beginnings as a shield," the Dowager noted. "Because they are." Anya's words came out swiftly. "Then why are you here?" Elena looked at her. "To get justice." Anya's words were certain. Elena chuckled. The girl seemed to be on a mission, and her aim was directed at Hera. She wondered if Anya was a strong and sharp enough opponent for the Dowager Grand Concubine. Either way, it was no harm to herself or her son, and Elena was satisfied. "Have you heard the news, my lady?" Solove asked her mistress, who had been feeling poorly since last evening. The physician gave her a calming tea, telling her it was the anxiety of meeting the Dowager Empress. "Where could I get any news since I've been lying here all day?" she asked with annoyance. "It is Lady Lila, my lady. She has been given the title of Grand Concubine." Iveta sat up abruptly, causing a piercing pain in her belly, but she bit back her pain. "What?" she shrieked. "My lady, you should calm yourself." Solove tried to calm her. "Do not tell me what to do, Solove. How is it that Lila gets a promotion before me? She couldn't even give birth to a breathing child." Iveta complained, beads of sweat coating her forehead. The pain in her stomach increased. She felt a wet stickiness between her legs, and when she pulled back her sheets, blood was coating them. Iveta screamed in agony, begging for Solove to call the physician. The imperial physicians arrived, and a short while later, the emperor, together with his mother, waited anxiously for news of how Iveta and the heir were doing. A coldness descended over Giroux. How many times had he been in this position? Countless. The heartbreak he felt every time he lost a child was something that came close to breaking him all the time. But maybe this time the result would be different. The head physician, Thomaston, came out shaking his head. "I'm sorry, Your Majesty, but we couldn't save the little prince. He was dead when we took him out of his mother's womb, and he seems to have been dead for 2 days now." Giroux nodded his head. The little prince. Another son he had lost. A cruel joke. Somewhere in the netherworld he was a father of many dead sons, while in this world he still remained father to none. And Iveta? he asked. She is going to be fine, Your Majesty. She just needs to rest and receive a lot of comfort. This is, after all, her first miscarriage. Giroux walked into her room and held Yvette while she wet his clothes with her tears. She had so much hope for her dead child, her chance of being a mother snatched away from her by someone. She had only seen 2 people in the last 3 days with whom she shared a meal, and she knew exactly who had killed her son. She would not stop until her child's murderer was sent to the netherworld too. Anya walked into His Majesty's private salon. She hadn't seen Giroux for the last 4 days since his son died, as he had been at the Mauve Palace. She warned Yvette to be more careful, but the woman was as stubborn as a rock. Pacing nervously in the salon was Lady Lila, Grand Concubine. To what do I owe the pleasure? She asked, dramatically sitting down after ringing the bell for a maid. Lila clasped and unclasped her hands in front of her. A maid brought tea, and Anya poured a cup for herself only. The concubine seemed to be a bundle of nerves, and Anya was still waiting for her answer. A major internal conflict was evident on her face. Lila shocked Anya when she knelt in front of her. Your Grace, I need your help, she asked. Please. Anya took a sip of the tea, wondering what on earth was going on with the Grand Concubine. What help can this humble woman offer? She asked. My lady, please, you are the only one who saw me with Lady Yvette that day when the Dowager arrived days ago. You saw I left her in good health and walking. I am being accused by her ladyship of poisoning her to kill her son, something I did not do. Anya paused, shocked. Why would Yvette accuse her closest friend in the harem of that? How am I to help you? You only have to testify the truth of what you saw, Your Grace. That is all I ask, she said with a sad look on her face. Anya pursed her lips. Tell the Emperor the truth then. His Majesty is also determined to know who murdered his son. He is out to find the killer. Anya had heard reports that Giroux had been distraught by the death, and his decision to stay at the Mauve Palace for the interim was proof that he commiserated with Yvette and would do almost anything to make her happy. What is in it for me? How will you pay me back for helping you? Lila's jaw dropped. Anya was truly a shameless social climber. You will have an ally in the harem, she offered. Anya sucked in air through her teeth. Ally? What are those good for? I was sure you and Yvette were allies, but yet she accuses you of murder. Lila considered the offer she gave. An ally was useless to Anya, as she did not care what the concubines thought of her. What does her Grace want? Quid pro quo. I testify for you. You do the same when I ask you to. Why do I feel like you will ask me to lie? Lila whispered. Because I will. And maybe involve your lady's maid too. Lila considered the offer. It was either she accepted or she would be punished and banished from the imperial palace. Her family's name would be brought to shame, and that was the best-case scenario. Deal, Lila said. And she stood up to leave. Anya then stopped her. Tell me the truth. Did you poison her? Lila turned. I have lost 4 children. I would never wish that pain on another woman. You didn't ever think about harming her child? Of course I did, Lila said. This is the imperial harem. Thoughts to harm each other are the order of the day, but not all of us act on them. The words were honest, and Anya nodded, and Lila left. Anya sat to think about Lila's words for a while after she left, then called for Malcolm. What have you found out about Tobin or Jenkin? She had asked her guard to have eyes on the two, what they were up to while in the Marble Palace and when they left. For Mr. Jenkin, nothing of note. He enjoys his manor, and it seems her ladyship doesn't know of its existence. Anya's brows rose higher. Well, this was getting interesting. And for Tobin? At first, nothing much happened, but the day the Dowager arrived, he left and went to a brothel. Nothing special about that, Malcolm. No, it was not important at first, but then we spotted Maurice enter the establishment a few hours later. He said slowly. Maurice is Lady Yvette's chef. Anya sat up straighter. They like the same whore? One would naturally think, but after asking the woman who owns the establishment, it turned out she is the good cook's sister. Another coincidence, Malcolm, Anya told him. Nothing concrete tied Tobin and Maurice together. Maurice left minutes later. He went straight to a famous gambling den owner in the Gangrene area. His name is Gentleman Bruno. Maurice left the establishment a few minutes after entering. He was thrown out, actually. Why would they do that? They usually do that to people who owe substantial gambling debts. So Tobin left some money for Maurice at his sister's establishment, which he collected a few hours later to pay part of his debts, I'm assuming, to this gentleman? I came to the same conclusion as you, Your Grace. Huh, Anya thinks. Go to Gentleman Bruno and ask to buy Maurice's debts. Find out how much, and then go with this missive to Amaranth to give you the funds to do so, Anya said while writing the instructions to Amaranth. Malcolm bowed after getting the letter, and he left. This might be a way to begin bringing down her enemies. She had spent almost a year in the Marble Palace, and this was the best opportunity she had. Lila sat, worried, in her palace. She had gone to all the concubines to ask for their help, for them to testify on her behalf, but all of them refused. These were people she had helped previously. Whether it was their family members who needed help, she made sure to lend a hand. The day she needed a favor from them, they all vomited and spit her out, choosing to side with the party they thought would benefit them most. Iveta had the emperor's ear, and so Lila might have a death order on her head. The best evidence she could have found was finding the real culprit behind the death of the prince, but in just a few hours, she would be facing a court of her peers, that is, her fellow concubines and the ladies-in-waiting, together with the two dowagers. It was normal for all of them to joke about getting rid of Iveta's baby, as she was becoming insufferable, but Lila never thought anyone was actually serious about it. Someone carried it out, and she just happened to be the victim of the circumstance, wrong place at the wrong time. She would appeal to His Majesty, but she hadn't been able to see him. He would not even appear at the harem issue tomorrow. If found guilty by all the ladies of the harem, she would be drawn apart by 5 horses. A cry escaped her throat. Never did she think, just right after her promotion, an execution would be hot on her heels. She slid to the floor, and large sounds of anguish left her. She was all alone in the turquoise palace. When she tried her best to always be there for her fellow concubines, to be that comfort they needed. "My lady, please, take heart. Everything will be fine," her lady's maid Emile said, holding the sobbing lady she found on the floor. The maid thought of the hard life of imperial concubines. They spent their whole lives trying to give His Majesty an heir, and making him love them, a majority of the times unsuccessfully. Lady Lila entered the marble palace when she was only 18. 5 years later, and many unborn dead children, she would be leaving this place in unfair dishonor. A cruel world the marble palace was indeed. "Leave me, Emile. Isn't that what you wish to do, just like everyone else?" she asked. Since she entered the palace, she belonged to His Imperial Majesty. All the servants were His Majesty's, as they were under his payroll. Most would just be transferred to other palaces after she was dead. "Your servant will never leave you, madam, ever," Emile promised. She was just a young girl herself when she started working as her lady's maid. She might be a servant, but deeply cared for the kind-hearted miss. Lila cried until her tears ran dry, and a numbness appeared inside her. A sad smile coated her features. Such pain was not something new to her. "Hello, old friend," she said, looking out at the rising sun, but the greeting was for the maddening pain she was currently feeling. The court was arranged at the Sapphire Palace in a half-oval shape, with the Dowager Empress sitting at the narrowest point and flanked by the Dowager Grand Concubine Hera on her left and Lady Iveta on her right. Then the concubines and ladies-in-waiting formed the rest of the half-oval. At the middle, half-open point was a lone chair, which was occupied by the Grand Concubine Lila. The court was supposed to come up with a decision by late afternoon on the fate of Lila. The ladies whispered among themselves. Their decision was already made even before the trial had begun, and they hoped to not be still congregated here after noon. The Dowager Empress nodded to her lady's maid, who hit the gong for silence. The chatters died down as all attention turned to the Dowager Empress, who took a moment to enjoy the deafening silence about to be filled with her voice. "Grand Concubine Lila, you have been accused of murdering the unborn imperial prince, son of concubine Iveta. How do you plead to the charge brought against you?" she said calmly, looking at the tired-looking woman in front of her. Lila did not have the disposition to commit murder, and this whole court was a farce. Lila cleared her throat. "Not guilty, Your Majesty," she clearly said among scoffs and eye rolls. The Dowager Empress addressed Iveta. "Lady Iveta, your accuser has refused the charge. Do you have any evidence to show her claim is false?" "I do, Your Majesty." Iveta looked piercingly at Lila. The accused lady couldn't help but feel pity for Iveta, because she looked pale and tired. She ought to be mourning her child, recovering her health, and not sitting here. Lady Lila had come for her usual visit that day. "On most days we sit and just talk, but that day she insisted, Your Majesty, to mix me what she claimed was a calming tea. Little did I know it was laced with poison," she said. Anya entered at that moment and sat in one of the back chairs. The concubines were all surprised about her presence in the peer court. Iveta had paused when Anya entered, then continued. "I started to feel terrible right after that, and I had to push myself through Your Majesty's breakfast the following day. That night I spent it in discomfort, and the following morning, after she was promoted, I bled out and miscarried." Whispers began again among the ladies. Hera sat quietly, following the proceedings. Iveta spoke again. "Pardon me, Your Majesty, but what is the Duchess of Pinehaven doing here?" she asked with bitterness. She thought her former maid was becoming audacious by the day. "If I may answer that question, Your Majesty, Anya is my witness. It is funny. I have been kind to all of the ladies in this room save for Her Majesty, Her Highness the Dowager Grand, and the Duchess. But when I asked all of you to speak on my behalf, nay, I begged all of you to speak on my behalf, you shunned and threw me out. I now sit in front of you, accused of the worst of atrocities one concubine can do to the other, and you agree to it. Why? Had my kindness to you all, kindnesses that I can't even mention right now, mean nothing to you, that I deserve your hate and venom? Lila said, tears falling from her eyes, looking at all those she considered friends in their eyes, which they all failed to meet. We are all kind to our livestock, but that does not mean we do not want to slaughter and eat them, Lady Imelda said. Lila released a bitter laugh. 2 years ago, when all the concubines and ladies' maids were looking down on Imelda because she was a daughter of an impoverished country lord, Lila was the only one who extended a hand of friendship. You now accuse me of murdering all your children, but none of you fail to acknowledge the fact that I am the one who bled the most, lost the most children. Or are you suggesting I killed my own children too? Lila asked, her voice becoming small at the end. There was silence in the room. I did, on that unfortunate day, brew a calming drink for Iveta because she was saying her spirit was agitated and not feeling right. The leaves that were used came from her very own kitchens. I left her hale, as the Duchess would confess. Anya stood at Lila's beckon. She bowed with a hand in front of her, holding a perfumed kerchief, her clothes scandalously close to her body. Your Majesty, your Highnesses, your Ladyships, she said smoothly. Aenor scoffs. What is she doing here? As Lady Lila said earlier, she is here to act as her witness. Do we need to explain facts twice, Lady Aenor? Her Majesty calmly said. And Aenor blushed. Her mind was far away, not paying attention to the show in front of her earlier. She knew Lila was the last person to ever harm another person in this harem. It irritated Aenor that she and Lila now were of equal rank. Your Majesty, I think Lady Aenor is trying to say, is that the Duchess's opinion might be biased, Lady Ava defended. Really, Lady Ava? How so? I think, save for Her Majesty, I might be the next unbiased person in this room, Anya proudly said, drawing silent gasps from the ladies who looked expectantly at Her Majesty to punish Anya for her lack of manners. Proceed, Duchess, Her Majesty said. Thank you, Your Majesty. And yes, the day in question Lady Lila was the first to leave, and Lady Iveta was healthy. And I would be so audacious, my lady, to say that she was healthy enough to bow to you when you came in. So your defense of Lady Lila is that Iveta was strong enough to stand? Lady Hyra asked. If I may question her ladyship, Your Majesty, over the tea the two women had. Anya asked Her Majesty, who gave her a slight nod, making Iveta livid. My Lady Iveta, you say that Lady Lila usually visited you, but it was the first time she actually offered you something, and it was the tea which she brewed? Iveta nodded her head. Yes, and strange, don't you think, that after she did I fell ill? And the tea came from your own kitchens? Yes, it did, but she might have slipped something inside. Any strange taste? No, none, and my physicians told me that parsley might have been used. Iveta answered more calmly. You didn't feel terrible immediately, did you? Because if you did, you wouldn't have escorted her outside. No, I was well enough. I suppose the poison hadn't begun to work yet. Anya nodded. So Lady Lila, who always shows concern for you, came and brewed you a tea. 2 mornings later, you lose your child. You automatically assume it was her? Other than Her Majesty's breakfast, I didn't eat other foods from elsewhere. Besides, I started feeling terrible a few hours after she left. Anya turned to the Dowager Empress. Your Majesty, I think it is only right that we bring in the physicians to report on what caused Lady Iveta to lose the child. Her Majesty nodded, enjoying where this court was heading for the first time. Lila was innocent but guilty in that she was too nice, too soft. She couldn't be the mother of the future emperor. Soft women breed soft leaders. How much tea did you drink on that day, my lady? Anya asked her. Iveta exhales irritably. Does it matter? Just answer the question, my lady, Anya asked. Or maybe Solove, your maid, might have a better memory? My memory is fine. It was half a cup. 3 physicians walked in and stood as well in front of the ladies. My good physicians, just for record's sake, what would you say killed Lady Iveta's son? Anya asked them. The head physician, Thomaston, was the one who answered. The symptoms she relayed showed it was parsley. How sure are you? Speaking in terms of percentage. I am 100% sure, Your Grace. Fantastic. And how much parsley would you suggest one ought to ingest for it to be considered abortive, if mixed in, let's say, a tea? The woman will have to consume at least 10 cups of parsley mixed in tea to be able to cause a problem. Just a problem, not an actual loss of pregnancy? Yes, Your Majesty. For a loss of a child to happen, then the person must have been ingesting significant amounts of it over a period of time, he said clearly. The ladies start looking at each other, surprised. So half a cup or a cup full of tea mixed with it would not make any impact at all? It wouldn't. Anya turned to the ladies. So you mean Lady Iveta must have had it over a period of time for her to have ended up in this horrible position? Exactly, he said. And did you tell her that? I did, but her ladyship was struck with grief. We haven't had time to speak since. Your Majesty, by Lady Yvette's own words, Lady Lila did brew the tea in front of her and left her well enough. And the physician's words indicate that it is impossible for Lady Lila to have been guilty of the murder, because even if she slipped a few leaves of parsley, the effect would have been insignificant. I say Lady Lila is innocent. Lila's day brightened for the first time. It seems that way. Wouldn't you agree, Lady Yvette? The Dowager Empress asked. Yvette grudgingly agrees. This had only proved that Lila did not poison her, but not who did it. Good, then let's take a vote now. Who thinks the Grand Concubine Lila is innocent? Raise your hand, the Dowager Empress said. And all raised their hands. Lady Lila, as the head of the Imperial Harem, I would like to extend an apology for this unfortunate misunderstanding. Lila stands and bowed to Her Majesty, color slowly returning to her face. Her heartfelt gratitude went towards Anya. She seemed to have made thorough investigations, while she wallowed in self-pity. A dark thought entered her mind. Could it have been her who performed the murder? Lila expelled the thought from her head. She couldn't throw the only person who saved her under a fast-moving cart, and besides, the infanticide had been happening for a longer time before Anya came along. The doctors left, and the ladies were still sitting. Your Majesty, I commiserate with Lady Yvette. This has only proved who did not do it, and not who did. As the physician said, the poisoning happened over a period of time. It makes me think it was someone within her household. The cook makes her food, and the maid Solove takes it to her ladyship. It must be one of the two, Anya said. Solove, who had been standing behind with the other maids quietly, was so shocked by the accusation that her eyes popped out. That is a ridiculous claim, Yvette defended. Solove might be dumb, but she can never hurt her. And Cook Maurice had, like Solove, been with her for many years. He came into the palace with her. Why do you say so, Lady Yvette? Aenor asked. It's impossible. She turned to Solove. Stand in front and defend yourself. Show them how loyal you are to me. Solove went to stand next to Anya, then bowed with tears in her eyes. I would never harm her ladyship, ever. Her and I grew up together, she begged Her Majesty. The Dowager Empress flicks her hand for Solove to clear off. The girl did not do it. She was too weak, and the look on Anya's face shows the girl among the people she accused did not do it. Bring in the cook. He should have been the first one to be questioned. Guards went to the Mauve Palace and retrieved the skinny cook. He was made to kneel where Solove was kneeling. He was questioned by Her Majesty and Yvette, and his answer was a resounding no. With no evidence, he was innocent. Mr. Maurice, Gentleman Bruno sends his regards, Anya simply said, and the confident-looking cook blanched immediately. Hunger was beginning to settle on the ladies in attendance, but none of them wanted to be excused or for the procession to break. The suspense was palpable. Anya removed papers, debts she had acquired from the gambling den owner. She passed the papers to Her Majesty, who looked over them. The dates clearly indicated when the debt was acquired and when almost all of it was cleared. The short period of time of 5 months was not enough for the cook to earn enough to clear even 1/3 of the debt. The Dowager Empress passed the papers to Yvette, who looked over them, and her eyes widened. How did her cook manage to arrange the amount in this period of time? Where did you get the money, Maurice? She asked softly, not believing it, but his name was clearly indicated, and he hadn't denied the debt. Yvette's heart was breaking. She came with 2 people into the Marble Palace whom she thought she could trust implicitly, and one of them seemed to have betrayed her terribly. Tears began to fall from Maurice's eyes. I'm so sorry, my lady, I truly am, but I had no choice, he cries. Everyone has a choice, even if the other choice might be death, Anya gravely said. I really didn't. Gentleman Bruno is just so scary, my lady. And he was ready to kill me. Then he came out of nowhere and offered me a way out, helped to clear almost my debts. And all I had to do was to always add parsley oil to her lady's food, he said with flowing tears. Who came to you? Her Majesty slowly asked. Mr. Tobin. He found me and helped me. Her Majesty almost bursts out in laughter. The Urani wench knew who this will implicate. Elena was sure the only reason she showed up today was not to really help Lila, but for her own agenda. Tobin, Lady Hira's goon? She asked. Could it be that the person who brings down Hira be his son's lover? Elena turned to look at Hira, and the lady who had been quiet the whole trial looks too comfortable. It seemed Anya won't manage to. Anya saw the comfortable look on Hira's face, and she knew her ladyship would not be taken down today. Tobin is not my goon. He does various tasks around the Pearl Palace that require muscle. Let them bring Tobin here to answer for his crimes. The tall, muscly man was made to kneel next to the cook. You have been accused of paying the cook Maurice to murder the unborn imperial prince. How do you plead? Tobin bit his jaw, resolve in his eyes. It seems the day had finally arrived, where he will be prosecuted for his crimes. I am guilty, Your Majesty. There is no need for me to deny when it is the truth. Did Her Highness the Dowager Grand Concubine put you up to it? Because we will not believe the money came from your own pockets, Aenor asked. You are right that I didn't pay for it from my pockets. I was given the money too, but it was not by Her Highness. Murmurs of surprise broke out. A smile crossed Hyra's lips. A similar smile appeared on Anya's face. Elena looked between the two. A deeper issue was at hand here. Who hired you? Anya asked, bored for the first time, knowing Hira had already slithered out of her grasp. Her ladyship. Lady Yvetta's father has many enemies, and he is a crooked man. He has swindled many people, some whom he might not even remember, he said, looking at her. Yvetta blanched. This stupid criminal was now implicating her father. Anya's eyebrows rose, and Yvetta stood up in anger, looking at her. You put him up to this, didn't you? Anya laughed out loud. Do not be ridiculous. Tobin, who supposedly paid you, Claus Gordo. Your father was supposed to share the proceeds of the grain he did not distribute to the flooded western borders. He did not. That was a lot of gold, Lady Yvetta, he said calmly to Lady Yvetta. Yvetta sat back on her chair with force. Her Majesty turned to Junior Secretary Sorel, who had been quietly watching the proceedings and recording them to report to His Majesty. The accusation laid was now a serious imperial matter, and he quickly recorded it. There we have it, Your Majesty. A confession and names, Anya said unenthusiastically. Elena ordered the cook and Tobin to be taken away and imprisoned, the cook Maurice to be hanged at sunset, and Tobin to be executed too, but the execution to be delayed as the Department of Punishments was taking up the case now. Thank you for all your help, Your Grace. I am highly indebted to you, Lilla said, and found herself not minding it. The other ladies looked at Anya with a bit of fear. Lady Yvetta had been ordered to be taken to her palace for rest by Her Majesty. Thank you, my lady. I hope this is the beginning of a friendship, she said, then bowed to Her Majesty, then with a raised eyebrow to Hira, and my utmost thanks to you, Your Majesty. You have been the perfect example of justice and patience this whole day, Anya said before she left. 18. The Serpent and the Grand Magistrate. Anya stood by the window, gazing at the crescent moon. The evening air, warmer than previous months, promised a pleasant escape, and she planned to visit the Imperial Gardens waterspot after the long day. Coming back from the Sapphire Palace, she had gone straight to scream into a pillow. Her initial target was Lady Hyra, but the lady was proving to be a slippery, poisonous snake. Anya had, after a long, hot bath, decided to take the victory she could for now. Tobin had physically murdered her father and brother. While not the mastermind, he was undoubtedly guilty. Warm lips touched her nape, and she automatically leaned into the familiar scent of pine and sandalwood. I was just informed of all your help today. Thank you. Anya turned to face him. This was the first time she had seen Giroux in days, ever since he took up residence at the Mauve Palace with Lady Yvetta. She wanted to slap him for his neglect, but the sensible part of her realized he had just lost his son and needed to comfort the grieving mother. I missed your presence, she murmured, setting her wine goblet down and wrapping her hands around his neck. His hands automatically drew her soft, sweet, perfumed body against his, and he rested his forehead against hers. Come to bed with me, was all he said. She obeyed, for when she looked into his eyes, she saw a broken man in desperate need of comfort, and she offered him the only thing he craved right now. Their lovemaking was bipolar. Giroux was rough and demanding one moment, then gentle, as if handling an easily breakable item, the next. Anya smoothly transitioned between these two extremes, letting him lose himself in her body until they both had no energy left. Lord Sansei is in custody, Your Majesty. We've conducted an intensive investigation since the allegations were brought up a week ago, and his crime appears to have been ongoing for many years, Magistrate Percival said, shifting uncomfortably before delivering the next piece of information. Giroux scowled. How has he been able to evade capture all this while? I thought there were people who looked into those reports and verified their truth every year. Is that entire department incompetent? Rolf shifted on his feet. It seemed, sire, that he had been receiving tip-offs about any upcoming investigation, which enabled him to varnish the books. The Department of Corruption handles many matters, and they often take things at face value, especially if no official complaints have been received. Who was this person? These investigations are supposed to be random and unexpected to avoid any varnishing, as you call it. Rolf cleared his throat, his discomfort increasing. It was his daughter, sire. Lady Yvetta. We found some of her correspondence to him. His Majesty was notoriously strict with corruption, and the fact that this matter originated from his own household was deeply unsettling. Silence descended. After a few hard moments, Giroux spoke. How many know of this matter, Rolf? He asked, shifting in his chair. About Lady Yvetta's involvement, it is just me, sire. Rolf explained that he had extracted the 5 letters himself during the search. He placed them directly on the emperor's desk. Let's keep it that way. And what about Gordo? He too is in custody, but stubbornly maintains he had nothing to do with the prince's death. Giroux exhaled. What do you think, Rolf? Do you think he's telling the truth? He knows the corruption charge, which tied him with Lord Davin, is a death sentence, but corruption does not touch innocent family members. He might be refusing because he wants to spare his family the shame that will taint them with the prince's murder. Giroux rubbed his face and nodded. Write their execution orders. I don't want them to see noon tomorrow, all three of them, including Tobin. Rolf bowed and exited the room. On his way out, he encountered Lady Yvetta and bowed. Good day, my lady. He received no response. Yvetta's mind was fixed on seeing the emperor. Thancred announced her, and then left the room to stand within earshot but out of sight. Yvetta immediately dropped to her knees. Your Majesty, please. I have come to beg you to spare my father's life, she pleaded, looking down. Giroux rose from his chair and went to help her up. My lady, you know I cannot do that. The laws of Dunburia are clear, and I have executed many people for corruption. I would look hypocritical if I let him go. Please, sire, have mercy. You can just commute his sentence to banishment. Please, Yvetta begged, tears streaming down her pretty face. Giroux produced a kerchief and gently dabbed them away. He hated putting her through this after she had just lost their child. Sire, if you have any affection for me and our dead child, you would treat me kindly by sparing my father, she whispered, immediately regretting the words. A cold look appeared on Giroux's face. He instantly stepped away from her and returned to his desk. It is because of the affection I have for you that I am not letting you swing next to your father tomorrow morning. The letters you sent to him to warn him were discovered, making you an accomplice. Yvetta closed her eyes in renewed anguish. I thought he burned them, she whispered, fresh tears falling. All this time, she had worried it would be Anya to expose her involvement with her father, but it was him. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor, crying silently. Giroux reached for the small bundle of letters with her broken seal, and tossed them into the low-burning fire in the grate. They are gone now, he said, looking at her seriously. Thancred, have a guard gently take Lady Yvetta to her palace, and have them remain there. Then send a doctor to calm her. She is very agitated. The faithful secretary quietly carried out the order. Do you have it? Anya asked anxiously. She had been meaning to carry out her plan all week. Laura exhaled. Yes, but are you sure about this, Anya? And most importantly, will you be able to live with yourself? Yes and yes, she replied, reaching out for the basket. Wear the gloves, and be very careful with it. This viper is extremely venomous, and the venom is very painful. Just as I requested, Anya said with a cold smile, taking the locked basket. After the sun set, she handed a bag of gold coins to the guards. She was led to a cell where a beaten man was sleeping on the ground. His build showed it was Tobin, tied to the wall. She removed clean cloths and gently cleaned his bruised body, then gave him a strong herbal paste to relieve his pain. He had broken ribs, and breathing was painful. She fed him a warm soup, which he gulped greedily. Once he was full, Anya helped him sit up. Why are you here? His scratchy voice asked. She opened a leather flask of wine and passed it to him after taking a sip herself. 2 years ago, after the Battle of Piran, my brother came home in a blaze of glory. I caught a glimpse of him for the first time in 2 years and was happy to finally have him home. That night, as he was on his way home from the Marble Palace, you killed him. I just want to know why. What argument did you have with him and my father? She asked, her voice cracking. Tobin took a long sip of the fine wine, and a smirk appeared. It wasn't him we wanted to kill. He just happened to be there. It was the fat old man who was eavesdropping. He begged for his sons and his life, Tobin said, looking at the wall, recalling the crying man. What was it my father heard? A lump in Anya's throat made her speak slowly. Tobin laughed, thinking her a silly girl out of her depth. Go back to the Golden Palace and suck the Emperor's cock, wench. This is above you. Anya closed her eyes, tears falling freely. This man had so casually taken her brother's and father's lives, and didn't care about the devastation he wrought. Were Jenkin and Lady Hyra involved? She whispered. Before and after the action, he admitted bitterly, feeling abandoned, though he knew this day would come when he had to solely take the blame. Anya nodded and wiped her tears. And the junior secretary Nigel? He died protecting His Majesty. What are you? An avenging angel. Nigel was a vigilant little prick who shunned Lady Hyra. She was offended by that and planned to not let him return from Piran, he said, the wine loosening his tongue. It left his mother alone and devastated, she informed him, and he shrugged, unconcerned. Anya then put on the gloves. Tobin watched with growing interest as she reached into the basket and pulled out a viper, holding it carefully by the neck while its body coiled around her gloved hand. He began to breathe heavily, pinning himself to the wall. He had always had a deep fear of snakes. Anya looked at the terrified man. For someone else, she would have felt compassion, but not for the man who killed her father and brother. "By the gods, Mr. Tobin, please do not tell me you are scared of my new pet," she asked casually. "Please, miss. Get that beast away from me. I will tell you everything you wish to know. Just please take it away." "Anything?" she asked. "Yes, please. Anything. Tell me what father overheard that cost him his life." "I was back from the war front as well, from attempting to murder His Majesty, but the junior secretary used himself as a shield by tasting His Majesty's food, ever so diligently. I again tried to kill the Emperor after the failed first attempt, but His Majesty of course never saw my face as I was covered. So when I got back I was giving Jenkin my report, and your father happened to walk into our discussion," he said, his face completely white and beaded with sweat. "Thank you for being truthful," she said, getting closer to him. "Miss, you promised," he cried, his eyes growing wide. "I lied," she said, putting the open-mouthed head of the snake on the foot of her enemy. "You think I came this far to make deals with you? Your death warrant was signed when I walked into the palace." The viper sank its dripping teeth into his leg. After injecting the poison, it let go. The pain that overcame Tobin's foot was unimaginable, easily eclipsing the beatings he sustained in jail. Anya gently put the snake back in the basket and shut the lid. She sat in a corner and watched the prisoner struggle and scream in agony as the poison slowly traveled up his body. "It is breaking down your body tissue, more like melting it, really, like fat on fire. When it reaches your heart, you will die, Tobin. The poison will reach your heart in half an hour. Do not worry, I will be here with you as you leave for the 8 hells," she told him. His screams were agonizing and blood-curdling, making the guards look at the cool detachment on Anya's face with a bit of fear. At first, they thought she came to show him kindness before his execution, when she cleaned and fed him, but she was preparing him to kill him in the worst way imaginable. The execution would have ended by now, but the Duchess's form of punishment was only halfway done as the poison continued to travel. Anya looked at the miserable man in the next cell and recognized the blue eyes. "Lord Sance?" she asked over the screams. Lord Sance pinned himself to the opposite wall, shaking his head, thinking he was next. "You failed your daughter. She will now be ridiculed in the imperial harem because of your greed for money you did not need. I hope you know that and remember it as you go to your death tomorrow. Your son will never be able to hold up his head high among his peers." "I hope it was all worth it," she told him, and turned away to look at the man who was now howling in a low voice, almost gone, his eyes bulging. She picked up the basket containing the snake and walked to the guards, thanking them. They could only stare at her, shocked. A crueler woman had never walked the earth. Anya rode in the dark with her guard to her family home and found Marjorie and Tanner. They were happy to see her, but the glazed look on her face made them step back. She held a basket, which she tossed into the blazing fire in the grate. They watched a snake burn and turned to her. Marjorie inspected her with worry. "Did it bite you anywhere?" she asked, looking at Anya's hands and feet. Anya only spoke when the basket and snake turned to ashes. "I'm fine, Marg. Stop being such a mother bird. We are happy to have you here, Anya, but why did you come this hour?" Tanner asked with worry. He was always holding his breath when it came to Anya, never knowing what to expect. "I was at the Imperial prisons, death row. 1 is down, 2 more to go." She also sent a message to Madame Frida through Marcus, telling her of the death. "1? You managed to get one of Father and Milo's killers?" Marjorie asked with happiness. "I cleaned him, gave him medicine to ease his bruises, fed him, and after he confessed, I killed him," she said calmly. The smile on Marjorie's face dropped as she realized Anya was being literal. "You didn't really kill him, did you, Anya? He is imprisoned and will be executed soon, and you saying killing him is only a figure of speech, right?" she asked in fear. Anya couldn't be a murderer. "No, I let the snake bite him and watched him. I heard him scream in agony while the vicious venom traveled through his body," she clarified. Marjorie sat back in horror. What had happened to her sweet little sister? The girl who would follow her all day while she played with her friends. Anya's green eyes were still large, but the twinkle that was there, even when she saw her last, was gone. "My lady, Lady Anya insists on seeing you," Solov said to Iveta. Iveta was sitting in front of a mirror, humming and knitting. It had been a month since her father was executed, and the guards the emperor ordered to be posted at her gates had been retracted 3 days after the execution. For over 3 weeks she had been in self-imposed exile, not seeing anyone from the harem. Most of them she avoided because of the ridicule, but she avoided Lila out of shame. In her rushed, unwise manner, she had lost the closest friend she had. "Tell her like you tell anyone else who wants to see me. I am unavailable," Iveta said. Her voice sounded resigned, as if there was no need to feel emotion anymore. "This is a pitiful state, Iveta. You should be ashamed of yourself. Anya said, walking into the room and looking around. The place wasn't as immaculate as it was when she was last there, and Iveta looked thinner, sadder, and did not resemble the beautiful mistress she once knew. Iveta lazily looked at Solov. Is there a new way you will disappoint me, Solov? You have one job: keep people out. Don't blame Solov. Very few people can keep me out of a place. Anya moved closer and waved her hand for Solove to leave. Solov looked at her mistress for confirmation, and with a slight nod from Iveta, she left. What do you want, Anya? Anya walked to the dressing table and picked up a brush, letting the bristles sink into Iveta's long blonde locks, dragging it from the top to the tips. Her hair had lost its luster too. Anya remembered once brushing the hair and thinking it resembled spun gold. You've closed yourself off. So it's concern for me that brought you here? Iveta mocked. Anya did not stop brushing the hair. She reached for some rose oil, rubbing it into Iveta's hair and brushing it until it regained some of the lost luster. His Majesty is going to pick a bride soon. He handles so many matters every day that he hardly remembers your betrayal. It's time to come out of your cave. I know it's hard losing your father and son in a short time. I lost my brother and father in one day. The following day, when we came from the crematorium, we found my mother dead in her bed. Wallowing will not help you, believe me. Anya started to pin Iveta's hair. I could care less about my father. I begged him many times to stop his ways, but he didn't listen, Iveta said with a faraway look. When the new empress comes, she will be the new head of the harem. If you hide away like a mouse, she will not treat you kindly. You have to fight for your place in this world, Iveta, now that you have fallen and are alone. A small smile touched Iveta's face when she looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair instantly transformed her and made her feel better. Are you here because you feel your position with His Majesty is threatened? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Anya looked at Iveta straight in her eyes through the mirror. My position with His Majesty has always had an expiration date. I wasn't going to be his lover forever, she admitted. A week after Lord Sansa's execution, various beauties started visiting the palace. Many left disappointed, but only one seemed to have passed the test. Lady Arian, a great beauty who people vowed could launch 1,000 ships. Lady Arian was not only beautiful but rumored to be vivacious and intelligent, the true ingredients of a perfect empress. So you are gathering all the allies you can in the Marble Palace? No, though my days here are numbered. I haven't seen or talked to His Majesty in a week, nor has he requested for me. I have things to do here in the Marble Palace, but I am not one to let someone suffer alone, she admitted. You need to apologize to Lady Lila. Anya picked up the face powder and applied it to Iveta's face, then some lip tint. Thank you for telling me to do the obvious, Iveta said sarcastically. You are welcome. Anya grabbed one of the beautiful robes Lady Iveta owned and removed the plain one she was wearing, helping her into the expensive wide-skirted gown and adding waist chains and ornamentation. Anya let herself out after that and headed to her manor. Marjorie was happy to have managed to lure Anya to spend less time away from the Marble Palace. The two sisters had been throwing their energy into the fabric shop, which had been expanded to sell a larger and much rarer variety of material. Anya was in the back taking inventory with one of their 3 newly hired employees when 2 ladies of quality approached the counter where Marjorie was sitting. Brienne, one of the shop assistants, placed the fabrics on the counter. Are you getting all these, ladies? She asked. They nodded, looking around as if searching for something or someone. The object of their investigation came out from the back in a tunic and mail pants she preferred to work in, a far cry from the seductive silk robes she usually wore. The 2 ladies bowed, but the one Anya recognized did not complete the bow, as if being forced to. The fact that they knew Anya was a duchess let her know that Lady Arian knew exactly who she was. Anya decided to nod to them and help her sister load the fabric. One of them, a lady Anya couldn't recognize, scoffed. This is truly the enchanting Lady Anya, the Duchess of Pinehaven and the Emperor's lover? She finally asked. You all bowed when I entered, meaning you already know who I am, Anya murmured with a smile. She could hear her father's voice. Customer service is key. Not for long, Arian said slowly, a small smile covering her plump, beautiful lips. That is the nature of lovers. They are only there for a moment. But wives, they have to be there until the day they die, even when the man spends a night in many women's beds, Anya jabbed. Marjorie told them the price, and the eyes of Lady Arian's friend almost popped out. The 2 had picked the most expensive fabric. They both grudgingly paid the gold and left the store, their maids carrying the fabric in their wake. So, His Majesty is done with you? Just like that? Marjorie asked. Anya still had a pass to the Marble Palace. She had left those walls 2 weeks ago after seeing Iveta, and had not received a summons from the Emperor. It seems that way, she said, a numb feeling gripping her heart after saying it out loud. Asshole, Marjorie said angrily. Anya looked at Marjorie with a shocked smile. Her sister had never been happy about the relationship. Well, the bright side to all this is, I'm a duchess, and you have enough gold left over after buying a new, larger, better home to put aside for my nephew to have the best education money could buy," Anya said. Marjorie and Tanner were yet to move into their new home, preferring to still stay in the old Webb family home. "And a larger fabric store," Marjorie comforted. She knew this was going to be hard for Anya. She believed her younger sister was beginning to fall in love with His Majesty. "Yes, and that too," Anya said with a tight smile. The large buffet, with 5 slow-roasted pigs as the centerpieces and various delicious-looking foods, was enough to whet the appetite of even the most finicky eater. It was, after all, the wedding of the Emperor of Dunbria. Anya, as a noblewoman of the realm, was invited. She walked to His Majesty, who was sitting next to his wife, now Empress Arian. Her beautiful face and graceful body occupied the seat of Empress, Mother of the Nation, with ease. "I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations on your union, sire. May it be the source of many children," Anya said, bowing the Dune way with one hand in front just above her belly and the other on her lower back. "Thank you, Duchess," he said. "I only exist for your pleasure, Majesty. When you call, I answer," she said, looking at him straight in his eyes. Her request was clear to him. The connection between them was still strong, and the passion was unquenchable. He had to give her up only because he had a duty to his empire to sire an heir, and it would not happen if Anya continued to be his only lover. "You are released," he said to her, the words coming from a heavy place. Anya bowed to him, then to Arian again. "You are too kind, sire. I will take my leave now." She turned and walked away. Arian did not miss the intense look that had passed between the two former lovers. And for Anya to bring up their relationship in front of her had upset her. She would have lost her mind had the Emperor not released her from their affair. "Look, sire, the entertainment is about to begin," she said to distract him from the Urani woman. Anya was drinking some wine when a deep, recognizable male voice spoke behind her. "They say she is the most beautiful woman in Dunbria, and I beg to differ. A wasted trip, considering I traveled thousands of miles to see the now average beauty." She turned with a large smile on her face. Gert had been away for a very long time, touring the Empire's borders, looking into security. "You've been gone far too long," she said, embracing him. "I'm glad I haven't come back to you burning the capital down," he said, looking around with exaggeration. "I have been behaving. How long will you be around?" Gert's face turned serious. "Until His Majesty needs me to." Anya nodded. She knew she couldn't ask many questions about his work. "Well, I'm glad to have you here for the short time you'll be around. There will be a large performance put up next week by the Imperial Arts. You will be around for that, won't you?" "I believe I will be," he said. It had been a busy day, and when a man entered the shop door, Anya almost groaned. But at the sight of the friendly, familiar face, she smiled broadly. "Good day to you, Grand Magistrate," she welcomed. He bowed his head a little. "Good day to you, Duchess," he said. Anya chuckled. "Just Anya will be fine," she said. When was the last time she saw Rolf? It had to be the day she had been straddling His Majesty, naked, in his office. "Then I can't let you call me Grand Magistrate." "Rolf is fine." A small blush coated Anya's cheeks. Marjorie, who had been at the back of the store, raised an eyebrow in surprise. She wasn't sure for a while if Anya would be able to move on from His Majesty. "How can we help you today, Rolf?" He looked around. "It's going to be mine and my sister's birthday tomorrow, and for a woman who owns every sort of jewelry imaginable, I thought some fabric would be a wise choice," he said unsurely. "Marjorie is the expert in that area," Anya said, looking at her sister, who walked up to the counter. "Rolf, this is my sister, Marjorie. And Marg, this is the Grand Magistrate, Rolf Percival. He once upon a time was just a humble magistrate who worked in our area," Anya explained with a smile in Rolf's direction. "And today he wants fabric." "Pleasure, Magistrate," Marjorie said, extending her hand. "The pleasure is all mine," he said. "So what is her skin tone like?" "An eye color?" He worried his eyebrows. "Well, she is fair in tone like you, madam, and her eyes are the same color as mine." Marjorie nodded. "I have just the material you need." She went into the back. Rolf gave Anya a surprised smile. Marjorie returned a moment later, carrying a light blue soft fabric. The quality was of the finest, and Anya could see how this would bring out Aenor's eyes and not swallow her up. "What do you think, Grand Magistrate?" Marjorie asked. The material was excellent quality and costly, the newest inventory they had in their store. He ran his hand over it and whistled. "This will be the best present she has ever gotten from me," he said. "It will be." "How much will you need?" Anya asked him. "Enough for a dress robe, I guess," he said, shrugging. Anya measured out how much he would need from the bolt of material and cut it smoothly with scissors, with quick precision born of years of experience in the fabric store. She then told him the price, and his eyebrows raised. "Costly," he commented. reaching for his coin purse. This type of fabric usually is, Anya said, folding it neatly and putting wrapping paper around it while Marjorie collected the coins. Will you be around for the grand show at the opening of the Imperial Arts Center? He asked. Yes, we will be. You'll find us in the second best seats in the amphitheater, she joked. Marjorie smirked, remembering the conversation between Tanner and Laura a few days ago when she brought the invitations. Laura had been working extremely hard on this. Second best? He asked, confused. The best are reserved for the royal family. Oh, then I will see you there, he said. Yes, you will, and have a happy birthday, Grand Magistrate, Marjorie answered on Anya's behalf. Rolf seemed like a nice young man who could be a good influence on Anya. He bowed and left the store. What was that? Anya asked after he left. What was what? Marjorie answered, feigning ignorance. Yes, you will, Anya mimicked her sister. Well, won't you? This is Laura's big night, and I didn't think you would even dream of missing it, she said, holding her waist. Really? Yes, really. He is a very handsome man, and not the Emperor, Marjorie finally said. What was wrong with the Emperor? Anya asked, annoyed. Well, for starters, he was a... Marjorie looked for a terrible word to describe him, but none of them seemed to fit. He never truly wronged Anya during the course of their relationship, but the fact that he put her aside after he got married stung Marjorie. The fact that Anya wasn't even considered a candidate to be his wife because she was raised and born a peasant infuriated her. The fact that Anya pretended to be all right with the fact that he set her aside so easily made her blood boil. I thought we agreed to move on, Anya asked her sister. She had cried the night of the wedding, all alone in her bed. But she never expected much from her relationship with His Majesty, and thus it was easy to put aside, at least, she told herself. Residual feelings would always be there. He was her first, and unlocked her body to pleasures she never thought possible, but what was done was done. Marjorie stomped off angrily. Anya was sure His Majesty would receive an earful if he ever ran into Marg. The price of treachery. The last grand performance had been fondly called the River Moon Symphony. This one was all indoors and, like the first, packed with nobles. Laura breathed out nervously. This was her name being immortalized in Dunbria arts forever. She had performed a feat which, at times, she herself doubted. At this point in her life, she had never been better. Her relationship with Anya had reached a place where her niece now showed genuine fondness for her. When Laura had been overworking and not taking time off, Anya would show up just to share a meal, acts that made her feel whole, as she had when Lyra was alive. The audience is ready for you, madam, Ashley, her assistant, said with a smile. The young man was thrilled the experienced older woman had chosen him. Prince Elliot gave her a squeeze of congratulation. He too had great admiration for the woman before him. Laura took one last confidence-instilling breath and stepped onto the stage. The light reflecting from the bright lamps was focused on her. She wore tight black breeches and knee-high boots with a black dress that reached mid-thigh, embroidered with shiny roses that caught the light beautifully. The exaggeration of her shoulder pads gave her the look of a perfect showman. When she had first seen the outfit Marjorie presented, it looked excessive, but wearing it now, she knew it was the perfect choice for this special night. Your Majesties, Your Highnesses, Lords and Ladies, welcome to the opening of His Majesty's Imperial Arts Center, she shouted in the large hall. The space was shaped so that voices from the stage carried easily throughout. At the end of her greeting, fire breathers, stationed on the highest points of the amphitheater, blew out large gusts of fire that died out one after the other, sprung around the circumference of the hall. The crowd, expecting a stage performance, was stunned by the action happening above them. The sounds of awe filled the hall. And then everything went dark. The focus shifted to the stage as the lights were relit, and 30 perfectly coordinated dancers began a performance. The amazement continued until the final number, executed by various professional and smoothly synchronized performers. Laura came out at the end of everything to a bursting applause and bowed, first in His Majesty's direction, then to the crowd. The Dowager Empress Elena leaned toward her son, Emperor Giroux. Now, if only you could have an army of women like Madame Laura, imagine how great Dunbria would be, she joked, whispering. Do not tempt me, mother. I was thinking of firing every single person in charge of all departments and putting her in charge, Giroux laughed. The Dowager Empress sucked in a dramatic breath. I do not know about that. Urani are excellent in the arts and entertainment, but terrible politicians and with finances. Why do you think the whole tribe cannot be pinned to one position and are generally ungovernable? You might just be right, mother. I can see your time in the mountains hasn't erased your excellent instincts. The compliment was slight jest but fully truthful. Elena lightly hit her son's arm and laughed. On Giroux's right was his wife, Empress Arian. She had been trying to catch some of the conversation, but only heard something about Urani. She wondered if her husband was thinking about his former striking Urani lover. She made an audible sound of annoyance, which Lady Hira immediately noticed. Was the performance not to your liking, Your Majesty? Hira asked mockingly. She found the new empress spoiled. It seems everywhere I look, all I can see is Urani women, Arian said to the older woman next to her. Hira smiled slightly and tapped her fan over Arian's fine, tailored dress robe. Because they are, my dear, she answered. They do, after all, clothe and entertain us. She made the comment under her breath. Next to Hira was Lady Ainur, who had been silently listening. The new head of the harem hadn't meshed well with the concubines. Arian had been throwing her weight around and reminding everyone that she was in charge. The Tuesday card game had been completely banned, and Arian had all of Ainur's servants punished for their mistress's supposed misbehavior. Arian looked around in annoyance as Anya, sitting a short distance away accompanied by her sister, brother-in-law, and Grand Magistrate Percival, Rolf, turned towards them. All four nodded in the direction of His Majesty and the entire royal family. Arian's attention, however, was fixed on the Emperor, who was looking at Anya, then at the man next to her, Rolf. A cloud of annoyance crossed Giroux's features. Giroux did not expect to be so upset seeing Anya with another man so soon. Rolf, of all people. It seemed the young magistrate had wasted no time in making a move on his former lover. The performance was over, so a few minutes after seeing Anya, Giroux stood up, and his whole household followed. It had been a satisfying night for most, and it had been for him too, until he saw the handsome couple. Your Majesty, who provides fabric for the royal household? Arian asked her mother-in-law a few days later. Elena had been instructing the young woman on how to be an empress. The girl had shown great promise in the beginning, but she had a jealous and self-absorbed streak that Elena had missed. I am sure a few trusted suppliers. I hear Anya's family has been one of them for a few years now, Elena said while trimming her flowers. Arian absolutely hated gardening, but the old woman told her it would cultivate patience. Do we need foreigners like her, coming into the marble palace like that? Arian sniffed. Elena paused what she was doing and looked at her daughter-in-law. Anya is not a foreigner. She was raised right here in the capital, and Urani people are part of Dunbria. They have been for the last half-century. As Empress of Dunbria, there are many colonized tribes within our borders. Never consider them foreigners. They too are your subjects now. They too are Dune. Of course, Your Majesty. Arian bowed her head. A few moments of silence passed between the two women before Elena broke it. It is important to quit while you are ahead, my dear. There is no need to fight with someone who is out of the picture already, she advised. Arian bit her jaw. Of course, Your Majesty. Elena could sense the young woman's replies were forced. She was the type who thought she knew it all. I think this is enough for today. I am exhausted, Elena said, becoming frustrated and beginning to heavily doubt her choice of empress. Arian bowed and went to her sedan chair. As the horse-drawn sedan slowly passed the Pearl Palace, she tapped the side for the horse leader to stop. Lady Hira had invited her over for tea the day of the grand opening. Arian hadn't considered it at first because Hira was at odds with her mother-in-law, but the few conversations she had with the lady showed her to be more agreeable than the harridan she called Her Majesty. We go into the Pearl Palace, she instructed her maid, Miriam, who, after a moment's hesitation, nodded to the horse leader. They were quickly welcomed into the Pearl Palace, and Hira bowed when she saw the young empress. What a great honor it is to have you here. Arian looked around. This place looked better than her own palace. It is about time. I need to know the woman who was as a mother to my husband for 20 years. Arian threw the jab toward the absent dowager empress, and Hira smiled, realizing she had a weapon against her enemies now. How are the lessons going with Her Majesty? Arian made a dissatisfied sound. She thought things would be easier when she became empress. It is not what I expected it to be. I thought being empress would afford me more power and freedom, she complained. Hira raised an eyebrow. It should. You are the wife of the sovereign of Dunbria, she lied. A bright look appeared on Arian's face. Hira almost burst out laughing. If the girl wanted freedom, being empress was the last thing she should have chosen. From the day she exchanged vows with His Majesty, she became his wife, his property, and had to abide by the rules and regulations of the land without question as the mother of the empire. You are absolutely right, Lady Hira. Thank you, Your Majesty. Hira paused. People are still completely abuzz with the Imperial Arts performance, she said, laying the trap. It was outstanding indeed, Arian said, remembering the magnificent performances. And the outfits? What did you think of the outfits, Your Majesty? They were well tailored, and they caught the light impeccably, Arian answered with a smile. I agree. It seems the Duchess of Pinehaven's family keeps outdoing expectations. Hira moved to her pond, knowing the name would draw in Arian. What did Anya have to do with this? You didn't know? Madame Laura is her aunt, and her family's mercantile supplies the fabric for the costumes. What? Arian said, fuming. The Urani woman was everywhere. Hira turned to the Empress with fake concern. It seems Her Majesty is not happy with the news. How did His Majesty let them infiltrate the palace in such a manner? Arian squeaked. Hera thought about the claimed infiltration. Anya was out of the Marble Palace, and Laura was based outside the Marble Palace and the Arts Center. They seem to be competent. Dunbria is a large place. There are much better people who can replace them. You can have her removed from the Arts Center and have any business the palace has with the Webb Mercantile severed, Hera suggested, knowing full well the young woman had no authority at the Arts Center. Madame Laura has pleased the Emperor well. It will not be easy to get rid of her, Arian acknowledged. His Majesty values her because she has done well and shown competence, Hera agreed. But if she were to be incompetent, highly so, she will be gone. An idea started to form in Arian's head. Sabotage, maybe? A fire at the Arts Center? Arian asked. Hera did not want to damage the Arts Center. It had been a good influence on her previously aimless son, Elliot. He cared about the place and had been working hard. All Hera wanted was the way cleared for her son to head the place. Burning it will be highly disadvantageous for the whole of Dunbria, and His Majesty will investigate the fire intensively, and you will be implicated. She tried to convince her. Arian sat back. What do you suggest? And why do you hold a grudge against Anya and Laura? Anya is a disrespectful little shite that needs to be knocked down a few pegs, and well, Laura is blocking my son's prospects, Hera said. You want Prince Elliot to head the arts? Yes, I do. So a fire will not work. The only sore thumb is Laura, and if she is gone, so will Anya's connection to the Marble Palace. So by gone you mean dead? Arian asked, the idea appealing to her more. Discrediting Laura would be very difficult. That is an option. How would you suggest we do it? Hera looked away. She already knew how to kill Laura but could not do it herself. She could not dirty her hands. And Anya would be like a vicious rabid dog who, if she scented Hera, would come for blood. The head of arts receives a lot of gifts, especially after such a riveting show. A nice piece of cloth laced with poison will take care of her. Something expensive and beautiful. I hear the Webb Mercantile has excellent fabric. A sly smile appeared on Arian's face. Using the niece to get rid of the aunt. Devious. When you are ready, I know where to acquire the poison. Arian stood up. This has been the most pleasurable visit. Hera stood as well and bowed. I hope you visit more, Your Majesty. I will, Arian said, immediately formulating a plan. She would send one of her maids to buy the most expensive fabric in Anya's shop and let Lady Hera handle the rest. Miriam walked back to the Ruby Palace with the coat she had made from expensive, silk-embroidered material she bought. The now poison-laced material was packaged safely in a paper wrapping. What is that you are carrying, Miriam? Arian asked. Miriam looked down at the package. It is the coat you sent me to deliver to Her Highness for inspection, she said. Why are you bringing it back here? The Dowager Grand will have it delivered, Arian said, annoyed. Miriam looked uncomfortable. She said that is your part to play. She insisted on it and said she played her part already. Arian snorted. It seemed the old woman was shrinking back. No worry, Arian thought. She can do it herself. Very well. Put it away safely. I will send it when I'm ready to, she said, settling down and writing her declaration to the palace stockroom. Anya rode her horse next to the horse-drawn carriage, being driven by one of her employees. The large doors opened after she showed her trader's pass and signed in. The doors closed behind her, and as usual, her worker Maverick began to unload the fabric. The chief of stores came out to greet her and bowed. She was talking to Madame Frida, who was closely inspecting the materials, then judged them to be satisfactory. The older chief of stores bowed to Anya. Good day, Your Grace. I can see the fabric has once more met Madame Frida's high standards, he added with a smile. Only the best for the Marble Palace, Anya said with a smile as well. The man became uncomfortable. Is there something amiss, Master Smith? Anya asked him. He then asked her to follow him to his office, which she entered with Madame Frida in tow. My apologies, Your Grace, he said, extracting a letter. The Marble Palace cannot have any more dealings with the Webb Mercantile, effective immediately. He pushed a bag of coins across the table to her. Anya looked at Madame Frida, and then at Master Smith. Is the fabric we delivered last time unsatisfactory in any way? I can have it replaced for free. It is not the fabric, Your Grace. It has just come time to sever the partnership, he said, internally cringing. The Webbs brought the best material to the Marble Palace. Come on, Master Smith. I know people who have dealt with the Marble Palace for years longer, and still are. Why would the Webb Mercantile be the one to be cut off? Master Smith took a deep breath. My apologies, Lady Pinehaven, but there is nothing I can do about it. Her Majesty is restructuring, and you are one of the unfortunate ones who have been let go. How many have been let go? That is an internal matter, Your Grace. He stood from his seat and extended his hand to her. He couldn't tell her that her mercantile was the only one let go. Anya nodded her head in understanding and shook his hand. The old man was uncomfortable, because Her Majesty had only picked out Anya to be barred from the Marble Palace. He didn't know inner palace business but had an idea why it was done. "Thank you for everything, Master Smith," she said. "No, thank you for all your grace." "I wish we had more dealings," he said, happy she had not made a big matter out of it, because she had the ability to have this matter reach the Emperor, and she was well known to be his former lover. "Fear not, Master Smith, I will be back. And permanently this time." She turned and nodded to Madame Frida, then left. The Empress seemed to want to fight with her, and Anya was ready to oblige, never having been one to back out of a fight. A messenger from the palace stood in front of Madame Laura as she read the directive from Her Majesty. Laura closed it and looked at the messenger. "She wants a reply to this?" The look on her face was one of incredulity. The messenger shrugged, not knowing. "Very well, this is my reply. No, I will tell her face to face." "Ashley, you are coming with me," she told her secretary, who immediately jumped up and followed her. The three rode to the palace, and Laura was let into the Ruby Palace. She requested to see Her Majesty, and after waiting for close to an hour, Arian decided to come out to meet Laura. The older of the two women bowed. "Thank you for granting me an audience, Your Majesty." Arian nodded and sat on her chair, leaving Laura and Ashley standing. "I came to get clarity on your directive," Laura said without beating around the bush. "I thought the message spoke for itself." "No, it did not. Because the directive you wrote me is in direct contradiction with His Majesty's decree for the harem not to interfere with the imperial arts. As my sovereign, I thought to forward your directive to him so as to get clarity from him, but I thought I should get it from you first before it got to him." Laura's words were clear and direct. "So in other words, I gave you a direct command, and you decide to disobey it? You ask me to get rid of a reliable supplier of fabric to the imperial arts without any reason. His Majesty has spent a lot of funds and energy to have the imperial arts reach where it has. I won't make a decision without proper reason," Laura countered. Arian stood up, matching Laura's height. She gave Laura a head-to-toe look. "I could have you beheaded for impertinence. I am your empress. I am a citizen of Dunbria, and should be afforded a trial before judgment. The fact that you are my empress goes without mention, as I am not in doubt of it, nor is anyone else in this room, at least, that is what I believe. If there is no clarification on your directive, Your Majesty, then I will take my leave now." Laura bowed and left, thoroughly annoyed. Ashley was dumbstruck by the audacity of his mistress. She spoke to the Empress with such authority. "Madame Laura, what if the directive came from His Majesty?" he asked, following her closely behind. "Then why would he have his wife write it out when he can do it himself?" She turned, looking at her secretary as they mounted their horses. "Why would she ask for us to stop dealing with the Duchess then? A jealous woman acts without thought, Ashley," she said as she urged her horse to a trot. Arian swept the vase of flowers that was on her table to the floor in anger. Miriam looked at her mistress in shock. "My lady, you will harm yourself. Who does that filthy idiot think she is?" "Very well, Laura Stowe, let's play," Arian said to herself, then turned to her maid with a serene smile. "Send our Director of Imperial Arts the present we made her tomorrow, first thing in the morning." Elliot whistled when he entered Laura's office as she was going through her schedule for the day. Laura turned to him. "Good morning to you, Prince Elliot." "Good morning, madam. All this for you?" he said, indicating the room full of gifts from the attendants of the last performance. "And the only thing I received was a pat on the back from my mother of congratulations." Laura rolled her eyes. Elliot was used to being spoiled and adored. "Very well, pick whatever you want." "What is in there?" he asked. "Well, it varies from food to nice pieces of art," she told him. He ran his hands over the packages, giving them a small squeeze. The first one he picked was a firm one, which he unwrapped. It was a wooden carved elephant. Elliot looked at Laura, surprised. "Why would anyone want to give you this?" "Of what use is it to you?" Laura shook her head with a smile. "Yesterday one was of a duck," Ashley said. "What did you do with it?" "One of the gymnasts has a little boy. I gave it to her for her son. Just leave the animal sculptures. They will go to the children of the performers." Elliot nodded and squeezed another one. The paper was of high quality, so what was inside must be good. It felt soft, so definitely not another weird sculpture. He ripped open the packaging and whistled at the high-quality coat inside. "Now this is a gift." He took it out and put on the coat, fastening its many buttons. "The fit is a little tight, but I can work with it," he said, spinning around. "And very warm, too," he said, trying to loosen the collar. "Well, if you like it, then it is yours." "Was there a card there?" Elliot, beginning to feel hotter and hotter, shook his head. "No, there wasn't." His breathing became labored, and his face was red as blood. "Help!" he gasped. At first, Laura thought he was joking, but he held onto her desk for support. Ashley rushed to help him while he begged to be let out of the coat. Laura panicked, fumbling with the many buttons and telling Ashley to call the physician. When she finally managed to take it off, her own hands were burned, and Elliot was not moving or breathing. The physician tried all he could to revive Elliot, but with a sad look he shook his head at Laura. Laura's heart dropped to the base of her stomach, not feeling the pain of her own blistered hands. "Call the Imperial Guards. No, send an urgent message to His Majesty," Laura whispered, tears falling from her eyes. Everything had happened so fast, she didn't understand what had just happened. "What do I tell His Majesty, mistress?" Ashley asked, his eyes now tearing up for the prince who was alive and full of life only moments ago, now a corpse. The tips of the physician's hands were burnt too. "I think it is best if I go with young Ashley. The young prince was poisoned," the physician said as he covered the body of Prince Elliot with his own coat. For the first time since Elliot stopped breathing, awareness came back to Laura's eyes. The young man was her occasional lover. Poisoned? What sort of poison burns someone's flesh? "It is the poison of a dragon-scaled frog, the green and red-scaled ones. When harvested and powdered, it makes a deadly and painful poison." The physician looked at Laura's hands and gently tried to wipe off her hands with a wet cloth, but she brushed him off. "The poison is still eating your flesh, madam," he told her. Laura looked down at her hands, and the pain of her burning skin finally registered. The pain was unbearable, and she reached out for the wet, clean cloth, holding it and letting it cool her and wipe off the poison. Tears fell down her cheeks, unchecked. "Go now to His Majesty," she said, getting up from the floor where she had knelt. The physician and secretary rode at neck-breaking speed to the palace. When they arrived at the Golden Palace, they ran up the stairs and ran into Sorel. "May I help you?" he asked, disapproving of the conduct of the two men from the Imperial Arts. He was now the Emperor's main secretary after Thancred retired, and was currently staying as the Dowager's permanent guest. "We have urgent news to tell His Majesty," the physician insisted. "You can't just walk in and talk to His Majesty. You will wait, and he will see you when he wants to," Sorel told them. "We can't wait, Mr. Sorel, this is serious," the physician retorted. "It isn't serious enough unless Dunbria is being invaded. Prince Elliot was poisoned, and he is dead," Ashley said harshly. Sorel's eyes grew large in shock. He indicated for the two men to follow him, and he interrupted a meeting with Magistrate Percival, Rolf. Giroux raised an eyebrow. Rolf was giving him the results of the final audit of departments, and they wanted to start the one on the Imperial Palace inner staff. Sorel was flustered. "Your Majesty, these men bring important news." Giroux recognized Laura's secretary and wondered what urgent news could come from the Imperial Arts Department. Ashley stepped forward and bowed in front of the Emperor, together with the physician. "Your Majesty, your brother, Prince Elliot, was poisoned, and he is dead." Giroux stood up immediately. Rolf turned sharply to the secretary as well. "What nonsense do you spit?" Giroux thundered, not believing his rambunctious young brother could be dead when he was supposed to come over for lunch and a game of chess later. "He speaks the truth, Your Majesty. The young prince seems to have worn a coat that was dusted with dragon-scaled frog poison," the physician found his voice. Giroux shut his eyes. He knew and had seen the damaging effects of such a poison. He had a few soldiers who were captured and then returned burnt with the poison. "Tell the Dowager Empress the news and the Dowager Grand." He paused. "Yuan, be kind when breaking the news to the Dowager Grand. Elliot was her dear son." He paused again, a part of him not believing his brother was dead. His heart clenched into a painful fist. He sat and began penning a message to his brother, Tedric. He paused halfway, looking up. The four men had momentarily been blocked out by his mind. He was still trying to process the news. "Sorel, take with you the head of investigations and discipline to get my brother's bod." He stopped once more and took a deep breath, pushing back tears, finishing the message to Tedric, and handing it to Yuan. "I will come back later on, Your Majesty," Rolf said. He too was finding it hard to process the news. The room was left empty save for Giroux, who rubbed his hands through his hair. The tight, dull throb was growing larger in his chest. Who would want to poison Elliot? He was beloved by everyone. Even the Dowager Empress found him charming, even though she didn't care much for Lady Hyra or Tedric. He heard a sound of mourning. At first it startled him, then his tears began to flow when he realized it was he who had made the sound.